Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Two Robbies podcast, your place for in-depth chat, discussion, and analysis of every single Premier League match weekend and Champions League chunked in as well. I'm Robbie Mustoe, he's Robbie Earle, and here's what we've got coming up on today's episode. Marquee match we'll start with, heading into weekend, was United versus Arsenal. Arsenal won 1-0 on that one. Liverpool came back from a goal down to claim all 3 points against West Ham. Gareth Bale getting the winner in Spurs' win over Brighton. Man City and Chelsea both picking up away wins as well. And Jordan Pickford dropped for Everton's match at Newcastle. That's what we've got coming up on today's show. Robbie Earle, let's start with the big game. The big game. And wow, what a great anticipation leading into this game. And it wasn't a high-scoring match, and some neutrals may have been disappointed in it. But I think we learned quite a lot today, Rob, on that game and what we saw from both teams, both managers. I thought it was very kind of clear which team were well organised, were together, were motivated. And that team was Arsenal, ended up winning the game, Rob. Just start off with some of your big picture initial thoughts of the match. And we'll get into formations and things like that afterwards. Yeah,
my takeaway is if Manchester United have had 4 games at home, Rob, they got 1 point. The Chelsea 0-0 draw. I mean, you can't get top 4. You can't win titles on that kind of form. They get a 5-0 win against Leipzig midweek. We talk a lot of good things. And then the manager says after the game that, I'm not sure, we don't put our foot to the pedal. I'm not sure we can do it 2 games on the spin kind of thing. It almost makes me feel like, what are the standards? What's the culture at this club? What are we aiming for? Is it okay to do okay? PSG and obviously Leipzig, we do okay in the Champions League, and then, it'll drop off a bit in the Premier League, and then what we'll pick up. I mean, I go back to my question about, is Ole good enough? Is this club good enough? But I start to think about the culture of the football club, and it's one of my kind of buzzwords at the moment, that this team almost win a game and then relax. That's what it seems like. We've won a game, and we don't have to be quite so good for the next one. And then we'll be up again in another couple of games, and we'll show. But on a consistent basis, the culture of the football club is not right, Rob. And Mikel Arteta, in a short space of time, just before you said, in a shorter space of time, is building a culture at Arsenal that you can start to see.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing, Rob, isn't it? Our last podcast on Wednesday, credit where credit was due. Yeah. United was so good. The game suited them. Rashford looked incredible. Didn't see him in this game. I mean, it is remarkable how this good United, bad United, as you just talked about, Rob, is continuing. And I think we'll get on a little later in this conversation about the manager. I just wanted to, I guess we're always talking about the manager, but I just wanted to just kind of start out with my main thoughts tactically on the game, Rob, and what they were trying to do. And we saw that the diamond worked really well against Leipzig during the week. Different sort of game. But I just watched it, Rob, and my first sort of thought was, it's frustrating watching United because particularly with a diamond, diamonds are great when that team is kind of technical and it uses 4 narrow in midfield to outnumber the opponents. So you play through that area and you gain an advantage. The opponents kind of tuck in, you use your fullbacks in wide areas. That's the advantage of using that system. I didn't see anything in the match, really, but initially, and they're at home, to see United trying to play through the midfield and trying to get it going. I saw McTominay. It was on the right-hand side of a diamond. Now, if you're going to play a diamond, I mean, you're going to have one holding player.
Yeah, he's the base, isn't he?
Yeah, you expect to be technical players, and Van der Beek, we said in the last show, would be ideal for it, but he didn't. He went with 2 holders. I guess my big point is, Rob, when I look at the midfield players at the football club, and I tweeted out this, you look at Van der Beek and Pogba and Bruno Fernandes, players that want to get on the ball and play. They're players. They want to get on the ball and play. Yet, we don't see that. We don't see United building up very well. They're not a good build-up team. They don't play out nicely from the back. Doesn't look like there's a structure and a system like we're seeing at Arsenal. You kind of are seeing what the manager's trying to instill, and it's working well. It's progressing. And Emery, you could see what he's trying to do, and it was going nowhere. But it's improving. And I look at the forward players. Look at Martial, Greenwood, and Marcus Rashford. They're counter-attacking players. Yeah, they love it when they can get forward. So my question, throw it back to you then, Rob, is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and this current team, the manager's sending mixed messages of what he wants. He's got players that can play. He's set up with a diamond. Oh, go on and play. Or they don't play, or they can't play. They're better on the counter-attack, which has been the case for a long, long time now. Isn't that a problem when the players don't really know what they're trying to do in terms of their philosophy under this guy?
Yeah, which points back a little bit to what I say, the culture and what we're trying to do and how we're trying to do it, and some consistency, some understanding. I also think, Rob, what I will throw in is I think this manager looks for, I'm going to say easy options. That might be a little bit harsh. That takes away big decisions. He's jamming Paul Pogba into that diamond when Paul Pogba was not. So Paul Pogba came after the game and said, defensively, it's not really my strength, and he made the mistake. And Paul Pogba was basically saying, I don't want to be in a 4-4-2 diamond chasing back. He wants to be at the tip of a 4-4-2 diamond if you're playing it properly. Now, maybe it's a head-to-head. Do you want Bruno Fernandes? Do you want Paul Pogba? Right now, you take Bruno Fernandes for his productivity. But I just get the sense that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will try and appease things, and that's not going to get him or Manchester United anywhere. So Donny van der Beek, if you sign him and you believe in him and the system works, play him. Play him in the diamond. You've got a diamond. You've got to, if not, why are you buying him? What's the point of having him?
Interesting afterwards, Rob. I know after the game there was we ran an interview with Roy Keane, and he was kind of talking a lot about the situation, how disappointed and the squad lacks leaders and a few other things, but kind of hinted really that these players will get the manager the sack. Yeah. And where I differ from that statement, Rob, is if like it's not the manager, it's these players. Yeah. And you got to give him. Correct. All I would say is this, Robbie, all right. It's managers that turn things around at football clubs. It's managers that improve and sign the right players. Ferguson, Shankly, Pep, Klopp, Wenger, Mourinho. If you ain't got...
You're another level, Rob. What you're talking about, another level football.
Yeah, but I'm not comparing them, but I'm just saying that the manager is what changes the culture, that changes the club.
But forget that, Rob. It's a good point you make. But forget that. Graham Potter, Ralph Hasenhüttl, Nuno Espirito Santo, they change culture. We're not just talking, those are the top winners and that.
But that's the coach's job, isn't it?
Correct. And that's that kind of omission of responsibility, almost like the players. Hold on, if the manager's culpable, Pochettino ended up losing his job because the players didn't do enough for him and get over the line. It's almost like, and again, I don't know if it's a bit of an ex-teammate thing with Ollie, so let's blame Ed Woodward. This squad of players, Rob, are still good enough to finish top four. This group of players.
Agreed.
Still good enough with the right management to finish top four. They're not going to win titles. I get that. But this group, you're telling me Leicester City are better than this group all over? Wolverhampton Wanderers, Southampton, Everton are better than Manchester United. I wouldn't say no. I would say no. Better managed.
Yeah. And that isn't that. I know we probably swing a little bit, right? We get a bad defeat, and I automatically start thinking about the manager again. I have the same thoughts I've had before. Like, he's not the right guy for this giant football club with these superstar players to motivate, cajole, to organise. He hasn't got the resume, the CV that's shown that he can do it. It's an incredible gamble that it might just work. And yes, I know there's been big name managers there before at the club, and it hasn't necessarily worked. But it still comes back to that for me, and that's my overriding thought. Paul Pogba. I mean, his interview afterwards, Rob, and I heard his interview and the defensive part. Is he really this bad? Or is he deliberately playing in a way, or not trying in a way, to get his move in January that he really wants?
Interesting. I've not heard I hadn't even thought about the January thing. So Tim Howard, who was with us today, sort of said had an interesting take where he said he thinks that interview was a message to his manager. He thought that interview said there's no way Paul Pogba's been told by the press guy, Paul, you need to go out. Paul Pogba wants to do an interview. He did the interview. And he's obviously decided he wants to come out and say something. Tim's view was that Paul Pogba was sending a message to Ollie: if you're going to play me in those defensive positions, I'm not the guy. You know, get me up in the pitch where I can play, or don't play me, kind of thing. That was Tim's take, which I thought was an interesting look. I just feel as though he was a little bit saying, like, I'm not the guy in that defensive role for you. I'm a player. You know, he talked about I'm not very good in defensive. I'm not very good defensive. I mean, a modern midfield player has to be two-way. Has to be box to box. The size and the power he's got. I said there was one thing you'll note, Rob. You've been there and play. You know, our viewers and listeners hopefully will understand, those who play the game. You know, the run that Bellerin makes. We've all had to chase that run back, and if you chase it back, it starts to hurt. The lungs are burning. Then I always think you have two thoughts in your head. One, I've got to stay on my feet, I've got to block him, I've got to see him out. Or two is like, I'm so tired, I'm just going to try and win the ball. And he took the easy first, the option to win the ball. When the real job, when you're really on your game, you stay on your feet, Rob, you block him out, you get a block, it goes for a corner. Nobody says a lot to you, but that's part of your job. And I thought he had that decision to make. And you know what? He took the easy way out. He took the easy, I'll make a tackle. Oh, look lazy. And look, and it loses the team.
It happened before, Rob. The game where he slid in. Remember, he ran back into the box and he did a slide challenge. He was nowhere near and he gave a penalty away. Yeah. I can't remember which game it was, but it was the same thing where it was just a lazy bit of play where I'm here, I'm going to slide in to try and win the ball. It could be risky, but I'd rather do that than stay on my feet and do the right thing. So it's exactly the same when we've seen it time and time again. Just on other players, Rob, right? Again, going back to the manager's role in this. Bruno Fernandes.
Yeah.
There's no question that Bruno Fernandes, and people might argue this with Pogba as well, same point, he's a good player. He's a good player.
Great player.
Why is it his fault then that this is happening at United? Why is he not playing well, Rob? Why is
they couldn't get the ball to him today, could they? Couldn't influence the game.
No.
He's the best player, most creative player. I think I saw in 19 Premier League. He's been involved in 20 goals, scored 11 and assisted 9. He's the guy who makes things happen, because the football, Rob, isn't good enough to get him in the places where he can get on the ball and make it happen. The football's not good enough to do that.
No, it's not. So manager's fault then the football's not good enough? The players are not good enough football-wise?
Manager's fault. The manager's fault. We know Bruno, it's like, I could go and put good players in good places, but I've got to get the ball to him to make it work. Yeah. You've got to have a system that's going to work to get him on the ball in and around the halfway line forward, and then he can start probing and doing his stuff. If the system you've got doesn't work, you don't know what that is, how to get it to him, you've got a problem.
Let me add it. It's so much the system doesn't work, Rob. It's the way that the players.
Well, the method.
So they can play in all different. They can play in every system. Yeah. But if the players aren't coached well enough to make that system work, and this is why we're using this system, and this is what you should do, and this is why you move, and this is what, like I think we're seeing at Arsenal, and we've seen at other clubs as well, and that's what's lacking, and that's the frustrating part. Is that they should be a lot better. They're a team, Rob. And this is why the inconsistent part. We'll move on in a minute. We'll go on forever about United. That's why they're a team of moments. They're a team of moments, of flurries, of Rashford breaking forward and scoring. And Mark special. Green scoring. They're a team of moments and a little bit.
Is there a chance? We want to talk Arsenal because I want to give some credit to Mikel Arteta in his team. Just before we do, and maybe this is the Arsenal link. And I asked Tim this question: could Paul Pogba become their Mesut Ozil? Is it such a, is he becoming that player that is almost an issue if he's in the team or not in the team? Is he becoming the focal point in the media? Is he starting to distract?
100%. Yes. And my opinion, I think our opinions are a little bit different. I remember when we said, I remember saying, you got to try and make him stay. Such a good player. You've got to make him part of the team. And you said, I'm not sure he wants to stay.
Yeah, does he want to stay?
The new opinion for me is, I don't want him to stay now. I don't think he's all that. And he's shown he's unreliable. He's 27 years of age. He's in his peak. And maybe if another manager comes in, maybe you'll get more out of him. I just think it's the time. And maybe this is what this plan is all along. To sell him, to cash in. There's a couple of years left on his contract now. They extended it for one season. Because I don't think that this is going anywhere. And it's painful to say it because he's such a talented player. Yet his application, his attitude to this current situation, and maybe the next situation, before, isn't helping the football club, and that is what should happen. They should sell him as soon as possible.
Let's get positive. Let's get Arsenal. Let's get Mikel Arteta. I think first win in the Premier League away at Old Trafford in 14 years. So we're going back to the Wenger days, the good old days. And he said he didn't tell his players just in case they started to buy into it. But I thought the system was set up well. Played Partey and El Nani as two holders. He had good width in the wide areas. Bellerin in particular caused them all kinds of problems, certainly on Pogba's side. He didn't want to go. McTominay did a bit of a better job on Saka on the opposite side. And then he played the 3 footballers. At times they played narrow and narrowed it in a little bit to give the fullbacks problems. I thought Mikel Arteta's tactical game was spot on today.
Yeah, on this particular game, absolutely right. And we've seen that mostly. The last few games, he's chucked in some strange ones up front.
Yeah, a little tinkering stuff and that.
A little bit with Aubameyang. Aren't we all in agreement that Aubameyang, Lacazette and Willian is probably the best?
That's the 3, isn't it?
And in that order, by the way, Aubameyang left. I don't think Lacazette played well. I thought Lacazette struggled with his link-up play, holding the ball, taking care of the ball at times, particularly in the first half. But that's the kind of system that we've seen working well from them. And they just look like a better team, Rob. Just look like a better team. Plenty of, as you said, plenty of ball in the wide areas. Holding player now in Thomas Partey that is looking like the player that we know he can be. I think he's better as well. And Gabriel, I thought Gabriel, central defender, after being on a yellow card quite early on, headed a lot of balls away, a lot of challenges. It's definitely going in the right direction, even though they want to be higher in the league table, and some of the results have hurt them a little bit. But it's still a different feeling I've got with this manager and this club right now than the other side of this occasion. And he's a thinker. I know he's inexperienced, but you can see philosophy, mythology, and it's really good to see.
Yeah, I saw someone on social media, one of the journalists, actually, I think it was Telegraph, one of the papers, who had written a piece and just said, one time this was the biggest game in English football. They were both vying for titles. The Wenger, he just said you get the sense that Mikel Arteta is going to bring back more of those glory days in a quicker time than maybe you're going to see from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, which I think is quite apt at the moment, where I think you believe is a way forward for Arsenal. For Man United, I think I'm still scratching my head saying, is Ole the guy? Is Ole not the guy? You
can't keep scratching your head, Rob. You can't keep,
I know my head's getting sore.
I know, I think you're answering your own question by not sure. It's like, but anyway.
Yeah, let's move it on to Liverpool, Mr. Mustoe, because Liverpool at the moment not playing brilliantly well, but getting results. There was a bit of a glare on this game because obviously Virgil van Dijk, we know, has had the operation we hear successfully. Hopefully he's mending. Fabinho was out with the hamstring. Not sure how long that's going to be. But obviously, game against West Ham, there was a glaring hole in the centre of defence, and Nathaniel Phillips, I think known as Nat Phillips, fill the gap. Now I'm going to let you go, Mustoe, because I know there's some Mustoe history with the Phillips.
Yeah, I to be fair, and I'll be honest, I didn't know it was Jimmy Phillips' son.
Yeah, so Jimmy Phillips, ex-player at Bolton.
Yeah, Nat Phillips is a former professional player, played for Bolton and my club Middlesbrough. Is Jimmy Phillips, and I thought, oh yeah. So I remember Nat being born. I remember him being around the club as a little kid. Jimmy Phillips is the nicest guy in the world. His wife Anna, like gorgeous couple.
Good defender, wasn't he, Jimmy? Solid defender.
He has a good attitude. He was a reliable defender. Left back, got forward. Yeah. Was tough. Trained well. I remember training. He sometimes got fired up when the training wasn't good. And like if Nat's like his dad's attitude and his ability, Jimmy was a really good left-footed attacking left back. Then he's got a chance. And I thought, by the way, as we're talking about him, I thought he was excellent.
Yeah, played well, didn't he? Yeah.
Really well. Didn't make any mistakes. Had loads of it to keep it, and he kept his passing very simple.
Football, nice football. Good size, 6'3", isn't he, or something?
Yeah, well, won a lot of headers. He's brave in the headers as well. Yeah. It's kind of what they need, because I'm not sure that Joe Gomez is quite so much as that. Joe Gomez again
struggled a little bit, didn't he?
Yeah, he doesn't. His poor header for the first goal, wasn't it? The Pablo Fornals goal wasn't a good one. Yeah. But Nat Phillips, there's of course a couple of young players that could play in that role.
Yeah, everybody thought Reece Williams might be the one, didn't he? I think he was the name everybody was thinking was going to play. But obviously, I read that Nat Phillips went on loan to, I think it was Stuttgart last season, got some minutes in the second-tier German football. Stuttgart got promoted. He's come back in, obviously. Has played under 23s. But, yeah, it's a good look for West Ham, for Liverpool. Obviously, they got the win, didn't get the clean sheet. I want to talk a little bit about fringe players, Robbie Mustoe, in the Shaqiri and the Diogo Jota. I mean, Jota's been a fine, by the way, hasn't he? I mean, I wasn't quite sure. There's a lot of money. I think it's like nearly $58 million. Come from Wolves. We knew he was a good player at Wolves. But I'm thinking, is he going to really make Liverpool better? Become really important player. Come up with some big goals, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because Liverpool were flat. They were struggling to create. It was a lot of sideways passes. And this is what we've seen from Liverpool. It's a bit of a laboured thing at the moment. Of course, the important thing is winning when you're not playing great. And they got a couple of players now that are making a real impact. And I know we do our underappreciated player. And I'm not sure what yours is, so apologise if I hit yours. But this guy for me was really close. It's Jordan Shaqiri. A little underappreciated, Rob. The quality that he's got, and again, instrumental in a clever through ball. That
brilliant ball.
In the European game, I think he had a little reverse ball. A lovely goal for Jota, finished off that move off. Between him and Jota, two players that may be a little underappreciated, but I just thought Shaqiri deserves a mention of his quality. He ain't the fittest guy. You know, he ain't going to be a starting player for Liverpool, really. But what a lovely player to come off the bench and be able to pick up those passes, which is exactly what they need, particularly when Thiago isn't fit and ready to go. Yeah,
it's a good show, actually, Jordan Shaqiri, because I think many people thought he might leave this summer or that his time might be done at Liverpool. But as you say, with those two, I mean, the through ball had the defence static, stone-like, and lovely in between and lovely. Monet does a good job of just standing there making sure he's not offside. But not playing great, Liverpool. I'm sure, you know, they'd want performances, but sit top of the table, Mr. Mustoe, 16 points. Quite interesting. They've conceded the most goals in the league as well, 15, which is rare for them. So a bit of a very different season, very unnormal in lots of ways, but they've got to top of the pile again, not playing great, and will get better.
Yeah, I mean, they're limping through a little bit. That's remarkable, mate. I'm looking at the table now. 15 goals against, the most in the Premier League. Wow. And only 17 goals scored, so a +2 goal difference. So they're getting it done. My last note on them was limping through. They're limping through a little bit. Maybe those numbers say that, but who cares? They've got 5 wins out of 7. But that's what it's about, and it's a great sign for them. They can do that, isn't it?
And let's remember, 7 of those goals did come in that one game against Aston Villa. So one bad day probably, you know, wrap that up a little bit. But limping through, staying top of the table, and that's what you got to do. That's what champions do. That's what United used to do back in the day when things weren't going well. They win and they move on. Let's move this on to Tottenham Hotspur, because sooner or later, some people are going to start to say Tottenham must have a chance of the title this season. They sit second place after a win against Brighton. And the headline will be Gareth Bale wins a Premier League game for Tottenham like he used to do back in the day.
Yeah, he did. He did. And a really nice header. We know what his main attributes are, but he's pretty good in the air as well, Rob. He's a big guy. He loves to get in the centre of the box. When you look where he likes to get in the middle, which he did in this game. I still think it's going to be a while before we see maybe the expected Gareth Bale play for Spurs. And it wasn't a great performance from Spurs. And I appreciate what they're doing now. And they don't always look good. But, of course, it's a trait of Jose's that they managed to get the results and get to the top of the league. I don't know, Rob. After the last few matches, and there's been some great and some not so great, I still think they ain't quite. They're not the finished article yet. And there's times where they play football, and there's times where they look a little stodgy with some of their play. And so, a great credit where they are right now. I'm certainly not more thoughtful that they're going to win the title. That they're going to be in the race. I think it looks like right now. But I still think there's an improvement needed in this team to be really a title challenger and be expected to have a right good guy. I just think in certain matches they won't find a winning goal, or they're going to draw a few too many. Maybe. Yeah,
I don't know. Well, slightly different. I think there's a bit. I think with results, with not playing well and winning, which wasn't always a trait under Pochettino, I think that brings a little something to you, brings a little belief, brings a little bit of confidence. And listen, the West Bromwich Albion away next weekend. You'd like to think they win that. We're going to an international break. We're starting to get to, quarter point in the season. Jose might, listen, he's done it before. He might just start to ramp it up a little bit amongst them, not publicly. I think publicly it'll be that we're not ready yet now. But just internally, start ramping it up a little bit. You get Bale fitter. These goal threats are all over the pitch. You put those players who played in Europa this week in their place about not being ready, got to work harder if you're going to get in my first team. I just feel like there's a few Jose Mourinho traits that he could kick in if things start to continue to go well. And listen, he's won titles with worse teams than this Tottenham team, I'll tell you.
Well, I'm not sure. I heard you say that. I'm not sure I'm having that. Who's okay? I don't think he's won a title with a worse team than the Spurs team.
Well, or won trophies. His Porto team were never the best team in Europe.
Yeah.
His Milan team were never the best team in Europe. What I'm saying, he can win silverware, and you don't have to be the best 11. That's what he can do. If he can install something in Tottenham that they've not had before. Liverpool aren't playing well, but going okay. Manchester United back in the day had seasons when they weren't brilliant all the time, but won games and won titles. This is what he can do more than Pochettino. That's the difference between the two of them.
I'll tell you what, it's got a couple of good midfield players at the moment. Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, signed from Southampton, totally underappreciated, not a big fee, but an important player. Alongside Sissoko, both of them did a really good job cleaning up, intercepting passes and tackling. Those two are very, very good. I thought Graham Scott, the referee, had a bit of a nightmare, Rob. I don't think we need to get into some of this, but some of those decisions in VAR was like, what?
It was John Moss on it as well in VAR. It's not a good combination.
It's not. But Graham Scott going to the monitor for what was it? It was the Højbjerg Lamptey, wasn't it?
The Højbjerg Lamptey, the foul. It was right under his nose, by the way. He's looking at it and he can see himself in the picture.
And then he went to the monitor, and how that doesn't look like a clear foul, it beyond me a little bit. So I'm not going to dwell on it. We've talked about VAR enough. But I just thought he had a bit of a bad day. But Spurs found a way to win, Rob, 2-1, and that's what you're talking about with Jose. That's what you're talking about. Finding a way to win when they don't look great, defend well, and they take their opportunities. So Spurs flying at the moment. I'm just Mr. Flippin. I want everything great done. I just want to see more consistency. And
I think that can come.
It can come.
It can come. Manchester City, they're looking to try and kick on a little bit. A 1-0 win against Sheffield United. Never an easy place to go. Bramall Lane and Chris Wilder's team struggling at the wrong end of the table at the moment. Ferran Torres again, in a central role. They missed, as any team would, they miss a proper centre forward still, don't they, this team? For all the good play, and you need somebody who's going to finish it off in the box, and you just got the sense with a Jesus or an Aguero, that would have been maybe a 3-0 win instead of a 1-0.
You said it. The only thing missing in that performance, and maybe the last couple, is the finishing touch.
Yeah.
City are looking good. They're looking solid.
Yeah. Clean sheets.
Defensively, I think there's less drama back there, Rob. There's not worry about John Stones. There's not a worry about Zinchenko. There's not a worry about Otamendi. Between
playing well and defending better.
Walker's sitting still mostly. Got forward and got the winning goal in this one. Ruben Diaz is no nonsense. If it's got to go, it's got to go. Him alongside Laporte and João Cancelo, who's playing brilliantly. Yeah. Right-footed left back. He's a player. He can play. That back four with a great goalkeeper and with a central midfield player and Rodri that's I think is right at the top of his game as well, and a De Bruyne that's buzzing everywhere. Sterling, Mahrez. When you get Aguero up there, I just my feelings of City going into the season, Rob, was like, I'm not sure. Is there something missing? No, I'm not saying they're at their very best, but if I was a City fan, I would be very encouraged with that performance. Totally dominant. The passing was really, really good. Yeah. Very solid defensively, which has always been for me the main issue. And that's why they dropped off the last couple of seasons, because they've lost that kind of that sense that they're not tough to score against. That looks like it's coming back, which will help this team shoot up this league table. And Aguero, of course, is the man they need to put games away. This should have been 2 or 3.
And absolutely.
the reaction is a little different. I'm still reacting that way because there's a lot I liked in that Man City performance.
Yeah, I think I said from the Champions League, I thought they were good in the Champions League. The 3-0 win against Marseille. I know Marseille not the greatest competition, but I just thought out the ball, there was a hunger. They won the ball back. The shape was good, as you say. No drama. What is it? Only 3 goals conceded in the last 7 all competitions since conceding that 5 to Leicester. So all of a sudden, there's proper attention to defence. And I don't know, Rob, I just wonder, like, there was all this talk about Pep going back to Barca, and I know all the talk about he hasn't signed his contract. I just wonder very slowly he's starting to get back into it, and his team are, and they're, you know what I mean, just very quietly under the radar, trying to pick the momentum up a bit. And as you say, I think Aguero and Jesus both get close to training now, so it might not be long before they get something close to full strength.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just a word on Sheffield United, Rob. Continues to, I mean, they had a tough run of fixtures and stuff.
Yeah.
It continues to be worrying when you see 7 games played and 1 point. I tell you,
3 goals, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got to be worrying, and some of the team look different, Rob. You know, you're not seeing the stuff that we saw last year.
O'Connell, and it's missed.
He's trying different players. He's trying different situations, different players playing defensively.
Apparently, we had a wilder rant as well, Rob. After I didn't hear. Apparently on Talk Sport, it was a proper rant again about, you know, don't think just hard work and running up and down is good enough. You know, that's a given. I want more than that with Premier League. Like, it was another wilder, I think, a bit of a risky tactic at this point.
Yeah, well,
between now and Christmas, Rob, they've got to amass. They've got to find themselves 12 points.
Yeah,
and they've got some tough fixtures. I had a little look at their fixture list. They've got some tough fixtures coming up. Them and Burnley.
It's the first time I watched them play, and of course I know it's difficult. It's Man City, but even so, we've seen you do see smaller teams doing well against the big team, where I thought, wow, their confidence looks down. They look a little bit defeated. They couldn't get near the ball, and the more it goes on, of course, you've got to worry about Sheffield United. I still think
away at Chelsea next as well, Rob. Away at Chelsea next game.
Sheffield
United. Could go into the break with 1 point from 8 games.
Sander Berge is a bright spot, though. To jump on the positive, the more I see him, the more I think he could play way higher. Big guy, 22 years of age, good feet, covers the ground well, likes to get forward. He can play in a variety of positions. I just think, sometimes in the Premier League clubs that aren't super fashionable ones, there's some little players. I think I'm just throwing out. I think I've thrown out before actually, but I think he's somebody to watch. That go places. I really do. Sander Berge.
Yeah, they definitely need Rhian Brewster as well to start scoring goals. $30 million from Liverpool. I mean, he had a one-on-one with Edison, which I thought he tried to go over the top. I just would like to see him maybe try and go around him and clip it in. But it's a gamble. Hopefully, it's a gamble that works for Chris Wilder. We'll keep an eye on Sheffield United after a tough start to the season. Let's move on to Chelsea, because I thought this was one of the best performances of the weekend, Robbie Mustoe.
Totally.
To go to Burnley, to keep a clean sheet, to at times fight fire with fire, to be well prepared, to be well set up, I thought was an excellent performance by Chelsea. And I think Frank and Jody and his team should take a lot of credit, because his team looked like they were ready for everything that Burnley threw at them. And then in the end, they were just too good footballers, which we know that is anyway. That doesn't guarantee you anything in the Premier League.
Couldn't agree more. And you think about the way that Spurs laboured against Burnley. Chelsea went there I think just a little less than a week later and get them off the park. I mean, it's coming together, Rob. It's coming together at Chelsea, and the new players are settling in, and the football is starting to flow. Hakim Ziyech is an upgrade. He's a proper upgrade. Now, I'll throw the cliched word of experience, but his experience and coming into this club and this team, he looked. I guess confident is a better word, Rob. He looks a confident footballer. He looks like a footballer. Like, I want to get involved. Give me the ball. I can make things happen. I'll take a shot. I can make the play. Give me the ball. His confidence around the younger ones, that maybe the new ones, the Havertz and maybe less so Mount, but he looks like a player, makes them better. I liked the back line. Now, I wrote down here best team. Unless you want Rudiger, I mean, it's a You know, Werner, if Pulisic's fit on the left-hand side, Werner goes up front.
It was a worry. The injury to him was a worry, by the way. Got to say it.
Yeah, well, he's got between him and the football club. Yeah. They got to figure it out a little bit because
they got to get him on the pitch on a regular basis.
Yeah, or take a rest and a break to repair and to come back stronger and better and not.
It's like a hamstring, doesn't it? They're saying he's having a scan, I think, next day or two. But it was an innocuous fall, Rob, which could have happened in the first 5 minutes of the game, which is the worry. Which makes you think: is the injury fully right?
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, between him and the club and the manager, and they've got to figure it out. But if he plays up front, I kind of like the team. I like them. I really like the Reece James and Ben Chilwell. Thiago Silva looked a class act. Now, whether it's Zuma or whether it's Rudiger, you know, you got Havertz in midfield with Mason Mount, Ziyech. You know, I thought they looked really good, very silky, solid defensively with Thiago Silva. Eduard Mendy obviously is an upgrade. They look more confident back there. I just, you know, a few weeks ago, Rob, I remember saying they just need time. They need time. They need reps. They need games. They need experience. They need to go. And I think, you know, they're starting to see now that this Chelsea team, as you said, best performance of the weekend, and it really could be something special going forward. Now, of course, it is still early, but when you see signs like that and have some of his touches and the classy moves and Werner and Ziyech, it's, you know, as the name to suggest, this I think is going to be an exciting and a really good team going forward.
Yeah, what is it? 4 clean sheets in all competitions now on the bounce. That all looks good. And you lead me very nicely to my underappreciated player of the week, and Thiago Silva, Robbie Mustoe, is my underappreciated player of the week. In that, vastly experienced defender, played at all different levels. But I'm not sure how often or if at all he's had that direct ball in your face. Ashley Barnes, Chris Wood fighting for 50-50s, winning balls. And I tell you what happened, Rob. He put his head in when he needed to put his head in. He used his body strength when he needed his body. And there was one great moment in the game. I don't know if you saw it or think, but Chris would kind of run past him and give him a bit of a headlock and pulled him down. And he fell on the floor. And Thiago got up, kind of brushed himself down, looked at Chris Wood almost to say, "Is that it? Is that all you got?" It was just like a class moment from a defender who I thought this is a test for him. This is a different place to go. Not a test in terms of his ability in that, but just the ball's coming in the box. You're putting his head on the ball. The organisation. I thought he was absolutely spot on, and is what Chelsea need. He's the experienced head that they need back there that they've not got. With Reece James, who's still a young player growing. Chilwell still wants to get forward times, and there'll be games when he's got to sit in. And the partner next to him, it's Zuma at the moment, got the goal and is playing well. But maybe that's Rudiger. Who knows how that? But that central guy who can organise, get things right, and not be ruffled. Can go to Burnley and almost go to Chris Woods. Really? Yeah. You think you're just going to wear me down? It's not going to happen. I thought it was excellent and wins my underappreciated performance of the week.
Yeah, it's a great shout. I mean, the only thing that people might worry about is the pace when left exposed. Not seen that at all. Hasn't been exposed. He's smart enough maybe to drop off.
People round him and drop off, and you know, as we've seen in the past.
Really good. I mean, really good all round. I thought Chelsea, Frank Lampard. So pleased with Frank Lampard to finally, you know, see it coming together, and it looks pretty exciting. I'll tell you.
Let's move to St James's Park, Newcastle, Everton. Newcastle winning 2-1, back-to-back defeats for Everton. That obviously won't please Carlo Ancelotti. Headline here, Robbie Mustoe, was Jordan Pickford was rested. I'll use that word in inverted commas. Rested for one game. Told by his manager, apparently guaranteed by his manager, that he'll be in the team next week against Manchester United, which has me again scratching my head. Jordan Pickford, for the first time, I believe, since he's signed Everton, not played as the number one. What's your take on that? The Ancelotti situation, Everton back-to-back defeats, just losing a little bit of momentum. Obviously, no Richarlison, no James Rodriguez. Makes them look a very different team.
I like it. I like what he did.
The Jordan Pickford thing.
I liked everything about it. Everything about it.
Do you like guaranteeing him that he's playing next week?
Yeah.
And where do you think this ends then? Where do you think this ends?
It starts by looking at the new goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Right? start. So giving him a game. It's not as though Pickford's been playing great, so nobody's going to complain. Even the player's not going to complain about sitting on the bench. And you throw the guy in a Premier League match. Let's see what he's got. Let's see what he can do in a Premier League match away from home. And then we'll put Jordan back in and okay, we've all seen what he can do. Pretty good. Yeah. And by the way, he made 2 brilliant saves. Brilliant saves in the game. So Robin Olsen has done himself a world of good. His manager knows what he's capable of. Okay, Jordan, back to you. Because if you make any mistakes, we all know what he's done, and everybody's going to be absolutely fine with him being in the side. So I think it's unusual. It's definitely unusual. But if you think about it, Rob, like that, Pickford's not going to be absolutely distraught because he's playing in the next game against United, next big game. Yeah. It's just it was an opportunity for the other guy to show what he can do. He did great. Now, back to you, Jordan, and this is what you got to compete with. Really good.
I get that, totally get it, and your reasoning makes good sense when you explain like that. My sense is Jordan Pickford's going to be Everton's number 2 by the end of the season. The manager's looking for the right time or the right reason to do. If he was happy with Jordan Pickford, he doesn't get the rest.
I'm not disagreeing with that.
No, so I'm saying the game for Ancelotti, and you're right. He's giving Jordan Pickford the chance to prove himself or not. But eventually, he's not going to be his number 1 because that's where we're at. You don't buy the guy in the last minutes of the deadline to not think he's going to be number 1. You don't do something like today. You don't do that with Edison. You don't do that with Alisson. You don't rest them. You rest them in the League Cup if they want to rest. You don't rest them in a Premier League game. I believe by maybe Christmas, Jordan Pickford will be number 2 at Everton.
Well, that's possibly right, and the option is always there. All I'm saying is that I kind of like the way, Rob, I suppose, that he's trying to get to that, and that Pickford's been dropped. But we all know now what he can do, and you might be right, Rob. If that's not one thing to focus the player now going forward, Jordan Pickford, instead of Rob always picking him, and Pickford saying, "What? So I've had a few mistakes, but the manager he really likes me. He ain't going to let me down." Well, actually, there you go. So he will. Like I want to look at him. You haven't been doing great anyway, so you're right, Rob. You wouldn't do that to a goalkeeper that's doing brilliant. I understand that, but it doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to stay in and he's going to be out. It's just the last kind of okay, Jordan, it's back up to you now, but we've got a good goalie there, mate, and it's the last bit of inspiration that he should need, Robbie Earle, to give the club his most focus, his best attitude, and then consequently his best performances, and that's what will happen now.
By the way, he's trying to save his number 1 spot at Everton, his number 1 spot for England, because suddenly can't be England's number 1 if he becomes number 2 at Everton. That's going to be difficult. So the story was more than Jordan Pickford, Rob. Back-to-back defeats for Everton. No James, no Richarlison. Look, a very different outfit without that kind of forward threat. And even Calvert-Lewin, we talked about those quality of runs of that. They're not there when he's not got that supply line.
Yeah, it seems that way. I think Richarlison, the record when he's not in the team, is not good at Everton. And James, we've all seen the quality that he's bringing. So I think it's as simple as that right now. That team that burst onto the scene at the start of the season, it was that new midfield. It was James. It was everything clicking into place. Yes, there's going to be rotations and mixes, and maybe some of the squad players can't maintain the same levels. Tough to do that when Richarlison and James, probably the 2 most technically gifted players, are out the side. I think they're probably going to be back for the next match, aren't they? I think. Not sure on that. I know that Richarlison suspension.
He's got one more, hasn't he?
Has he got one more? I don't know. I'm not sure. 2 or 3. But they missed those 2 players, and it's just dropped off a little bit, obviously. But they're still 3rd in the table right now, I think, Robbie, after 7 matches. So it's
a good win for Newcastle. A couple of goals for Callum Wilson, who's starting to prove good. I think that's 6 for him now in the black and white shirt. We've said for so long, centre forward there changes their outlook, and they hang in games. He obviously gets them well set up, and gives him a chance to play. I thought Steve Bruce would be delighted. I would have thought with his team.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're going to get some good weekends and some bad weekends, is what we've seen for Newcastle at the moment. I think that's all right, because that's going to get wins, and they're going to be where they are right now, which is mid-table in the Premier League after 7 matches, 11 points. So that's for me, that's still good work from Steve Bruce.
Yeah.
I just think it is. There's going to be maybe Newcastle fans that get frustrated that they can't be more consistent, but I still like what they're doing, and it's a base to build on, and that consistency may come with time. But that's a great win. That's a great win for Newcastle, Rob, and a team that still might have thought, and Steve Bruce might have thought, you know what, we might be looking over our shoulder, even though we made really good signings. Ryan Fraser did well, didn't he, for the second goal? Comes across, gets a deflection there, but it's good. It's good news for Newcastle. They're in a good spot, and it adds to the plight of your Sheffield Uniteds and your Brighton, other teams that are down there, and your Burnley.
9-point gap from teams like them, to Newcastle at the moment, 9 or 10. Yeah. So 10-point gap, only 11 points, which is good. Yeah. Wolverhampton Wanderers, Mr. Mustoe, continue to do well, continue to show a consistency that's remarkable, based on a team that 3 seasons ago was in the Championship, 2 top 7 finishes. I thought the front 3 of Neto, Podence, and Jimenez were excellent in the first half against Crystal Palace. You can see why Adama Traore can't get in that side. Intelligent footballers, team well set up. Who I thought were imposed themselves and their will on Crystal Palace. And Ryan Nori, the young fullback who came in at left back, looks a proper football. Another find. They get him on loan from Angers with an option to buy. The recruitment in that football club is remarkable. People just come into the team and make them better.
Yeah, and Nuno does a really good job of picking the side and rotating out, whether it's Moutinho in or Ruben Neves. Yeah. You allow Diogo Jota to leave the football club, big fee for Liverpool, but still a very talented young player. But you have got the Podence, Daniel Podence, who is doing great, and now he's given the license to get out there and play. Pedro Neto, as you said, I mean, it's just a good story of a well-managed football club with the recruitment and the manager, and without the European distraction this year, Robbie Earle, why can't they have a really good, strong run? And they will be targeting an unlikely top 4, but why not? Absolutely, why not? Given the fewer games they've got and the travel, etc., that the Europa League gave them last year. So, brilliant story. I'm still not convinced. I'm not. Nelson Semedo at right wing back as a replacement to Doherty.
Different, isn't it? Yeah, it's different.
Yeah, but all that being said, it's still a very settled defensive unit, an excellent international goalkeeper, and a front line that looks different to last season, but looks equally as good. Really good.
Absolutely. Quick line on Aston Villa, Southampton. 7 goals in this one. Lots of positives for Southampton, scoring 4 goals. James Ward-Prowse with 2 brilliant free kicks. One big negative, I have to say, the injury to Danny Ings, who got himself a goal, but then was taken off with what looks like a little bit of a nasty knee injury. I know they're going to scan that. And, well, this is the thing we said that Southampton could ill afford. Would be 22 goals last 5 this. And we're hoping it's a knee, hoping it's nothing too bad. But it didn't look good when he went down, mate, to be honest. I
know, but sometimes those, it's difficult to, we can't speculate on how bad it was. You're right, it didn't look good. It didn't look good. But what I would say, Rob, I think, remember you were saying that they could have a difficult season if Ings got injured. Now, he might be out injured for a bit, but haven't you seen enough, Rob, from the team that they've jumped a level where they shouldn't, even without Danny Ings, they should be okay if he's out for a long period of time, given how good they've looked.
It's a good point, and they're super well coached and thing. But he is a bit of a talisman. I think without him in the front line, I think the opposition looked different. I don't think Shea Adams is quite the same guy. But I do get your point. Yes, they play good football. They build up. When you talk about, with Manchester United, you don't know what you don't kind of see what they're trying to do. You can see what Southampton are trying to do, whether they do it well or not. The manager's got them certainly well coached and well versed. Set pieces are good. There's variation in their football. But it will be fingers crossed for Danny Ings. It will be horrible news for not only the player, but certainly the football club if he was to miss any length of games.
And it brings me on to another player that is my underappreciated form of the week, Robbie Earle, and it's James Ward-Prowse. Now, of course, people will love these 2 goals. I feel like he's a player that's generally underappreciated. and a player that shows you that time, having a great attitude and reps in this league, you can improve and get better. And he's certainly done that as a general footballer. His free kick taking is getting to the point where he's starting to compare him with other great free kick takers. Well, I've got some data and fact, Robbie. I've got some data and fact. And of course, he's still a relatively young player and can go on add to these numbers. But the daddy, the king, is of course David Beckham. So free kick goals, direct free kick goals, David Beckham 18, Gianfranco Zola 12, Thierry Henry 12.
Premier League. You're on Premier League now, yeah.
I think so, yeah. That's the information I have. Ian Hart got 10. You got Nobby Solano, Newcastle United 9, Jamie Redknapp, Frank Lampard, and he sits there. He sits just underneath those guys on 8 again. He scored 2 in 45 minutes. He could jump up this list. And I think we will see him by the time his career is done. He's going to be right behind David Beckham. Now, I don't know if he's going to catch David Beckham because David Beckham's got 18, which is 6 more than anybody else. But he's already on 8. And that technique, I mean, we're seeing it quite regularly now, which is really, 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 really hard to do, to get the ball up with the pace, with the accuracy, to get the right height so it doesn't get too high. You don't kind of pull it. Special talent, a special ability to make those free kicks, and a player that maybe, I know he's got England time under Gareth Southgate. Gareth loves him, by the way, but a player that I wanted to boost up again, a good time to do it is because he got these 2 goals.
Only surprise on that is Earle and Mustoe weren't anywhere on the list. I
think I might have been on free kicks for like 2 efforts, and then I was pushed off again.
I had Rose in the bag, but nothing more than that. Good weekend for Southampton. Hopefully they get good news from the scam from Danny Ings and everything's all right with. That's it for this weekend, mate. Great weekend of Premier League incident, if not great football, but always keep you gripped. Liverpool go top of the table. Not sure if that's ominous. Tottenham goes second. Are they in a title race? That's it for this week. I say date for your diary on Wednesday, the 4th of November. That'll be the next podcast when we'll recap all the big teams in the big European competition. That's the Champions League, so make sure you look out for that one. But for now, I'm Earle, he's Mustoe, together with the 2 Robbies. Thanks for watching and listening. Stay safe and stay healthy. It's a good night from me.
And it's good night from him. Good night.
Good night.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe. Make sure you subscribe to watch highlights all season long, and always join us every weekend at 7 a.m. on NBCSN for Premier League mornings. Plus, make sure you subscribe to Peacock Premium as well, where you can watch exclusively live 175 games and same-day on-demand replays of all 380 Premier League matches as well.